Luna is a deity of many aspects. They represent change and adaptation, fierceness and kindness, mercuriality and wisdom. They wear the shapes of men, women, both, neither and other. They cannot be confined as a single thing because they encompass freedom itself. As their chosen, the Lunar Exalted inherited their fluidity of form and preyed upon the enemies of the gods in endless shapes. They are both heroes and monsters, devils and saints, mortals and divine. They can be both your worst nightmare and a beautiful dream both at the same time. Luna chooses their exalts from those capable of great deeds, though not necessarily good ones. Unlike the unconquered sun who self-proclaims righteousness, Luna's shifting nature lets them cover both virtue and sin. They favor outcasts, dissidents and iconoclasts, as well as those who have suffered and survived great hardships. When having found a suitable champion, Luna attends their exaltation personally, appearing before the new Lunar under guise. How they interact varies, but they have some kind of personal exchange that has a profound impact upon the Lunar. The exaltation itself is euphoric and transformative, since the new Lunar experiences a rush of divine power as their caste mark shines and their anima goes iconic. While these Lunars adopt the shifting natures of their patron, their essence is marked by their truest selves. As the Lunar exalts, their spirit shape emerges. This is an animal form that's as much their true self as their human one. It holds a deep personal and cultural meaning to the Lunar, but is otherwise not something they can choose themselves. These forms, whether animal or human, can change their sex as well to conform to the new Lunar's gender identity if it doesn't correspond with their mortal form. A Lunar Exalted can change their form even beyond their true ones, permanently acquiring new ones through the sacred hunt. This is a ritual hunt where the Lunar acquires the shape of an animal or human whose heart's blood they consume. To perform this ritual, the Lunar focuses in on a specific prey, studies it, hunts it, and drinks its blood. If the prey is human, the Lunar must first develop an emotional connection to their prey before completing the ritual. While the ritual traditionally is a hunt, many Lunars develop alternative ways of performing the sacred hunt that doesn't necessarily harm their foe or kill them. Some Lunars acquire a form by engaging in physical intimacy with them instead of killing them. Some may complete their hunt by performing a life-changing task on a prey's behalf. A Lunar trickster could learn to steal someone's shape by infiltrating their home and leaving a mark of their presence. When playing a Lunar in 3rd edition, different approaches to the sacred hunt are represented by charms. As the Exalted triumphed in the Divine Revolution, the Lunars remade themselves for the Age of Dreams. Instead of being the monster heroes who had preyed upon the enemies of the gods, they became guardians and guides for creation. Not every Lunar wanted to accept the Solar Exalted as the sovereigns of Earth, and several Lunar princes challenged them for authority over creation. A new war ensued, this time between Lunars and Solars, before the two sides eventually decided to form a lasting peace. They agreed to make a number of sacred and political marriages where ties were forged that would persist through the ages. These conflicts had brought many Lunars together, laying the groundwork for a unified Lunar host. Many of them formed lasting friendships and called upon each other for aid. Centuries after their war with the Solar, some Lunar anarchists called upon friends and favors to form a shadow deliberative aimed to undermine the ruling Solar deliberative. While this group dissolved after the ruling deliberative's fall, its covert infrastructure survived for much longer, being passed down from mentor to student. By the end of the First Age, the Lunar Exalted gathered in regular conclaves to educate new Exalts, worship Luna, or serve as a counterbalance to the second ruling deliberative. Eventually, the usurpation brought an end to the Solar Exalted at the hands of the Dragon-Blooded and their sidereal benefactors. Many Lunars had perished defending the Solars, others had perished fighting them, some fled into the corners of creation to wait out the war. Many Lunars who fled grew bitter about it, and some came to believe that they had been manipulated by sidereals in some fashion. There were divisions within the Lunar host after the usurpation, and they were forced to remake themselves yet again. This time they were transformed by their tremendous rage, and the Lunar Exalted fought with fury against the Shogunate's wild hunts. As creation dissolved and regressed without the Solars there to manage the wonders of the First Age, the Lunars adapted to the changes of the new world. They dissolved their 5 castes and created new ones, adopting the roles of ferocious warriors, wicked tricksters, or wise-eyed witches in the wars with the realm. How many castes the Lunars have had in the past is unknown, but what is known is that the 3 castes of today were preceded by 5 others. These were named after the 5 phases of the moon and the 5 aspects of Luna. The full moon represented Luna's martial might, their vigilance, and the thrill of the hunt. The waxing moon represented their wisdom and willingness to guide humanity by shining light in the dark. The half moon represented the union of opposites, including fertility and Luna's role as a traveler between worlds. The waning moon represented the terrors of the night and the presence of things from beyond the world, such as the looming threat of the wild. Finally, the no moon represented mysticism and the unknown, as well as things that had been forgotten or could only be faced in dreams. As times change, so do the Lunar Exalted. The 5 phases of the moon are approached differently, but their meanings haven't been discarded. The waxing, waning, and half-moon phases of the moon are now all expressed by the changing moon, which is also why lunas of the changing moon outnumber those of the full or no moons, who are both close to equal in numbers. The versatility of the changing moons would also let them become tricksters, spies, and seducers capable of infiltrating creation's enemies and sowing chaos among them. The full and no moons remained mostly intact, just as the need for martial might and vigilance, or mysticism and curiosity, is never-ending. The full moons were needed because the lunar host knew that there would be bloodshed in the coming age. The no moons would be the mystics, shamans, and witches whose wisdom guide their circles in the Age of Sorrows. Traditionally, the no moons are the ones who wield the secrets of the tattooing ritual that brands are cast upon a lunar skin. Others may learn this ritual as well, and some may even find the guarded secret behind constructing a new caste entirely. There may even be Lunars out there who belong to ancient, forgotten, or new castes, perhaps forged for a specific purpose or to enact a new change. The Lunars will likely change again as they have in the past, and what time is better suited than now? But before a Lunar can be given a caste, they are casteless, and some choose to remain so. A casteless Lunar isn't restricted by a single phase of the moon and what it represents, instead possessing the freedom to discover for themselves who they are and want to be. Some remain casteless for a while before deciding to adopt the tattoos. Others are dissatisfied with the perceived roles of warrior, trickster, or witch and choose to be casteless their entire lives. The Lunars form the Silver Pact as a united force against their enemies, and while each Lunar is free to pursue their own goals, they find communal purpose in this pact. The Silver Pact has many goals, one of which is to secure the safety of young Lunars by rescuing them from the wild hunt, provide moon silver tattoos to define their castes, and train them to better survive in a hostile creation. The Silver Pact also acts as a mutual aid network and as a venue for social interaction. However, its primary goal is to be the lunar host's weapon against the realm. This isn't an established organization with a clear hierarchy and structure. Instead, it's an alliance of coteries aimed to collaborate against the Dragon-Blooded and the Sidereals. They are thinly spread across creation, with their members having little direct contact. While men Lunars set aside a few weeks or months a year to maintain relationships and influences within the pact, it's common for active members to mainly focus on their own direction rather than creation as a whole. Because of the realm's hostility towards the Lunar Exalted, as well as the many more dangers lurking in creation, it's in the Silver Pact's interest to locate and protect new Lunars, and they utilize everything from social networks of informants to sorcerers scrying to do so. Since many young Lunars are naive about the dangers of the world, recruiting them to the Pact can be difficult. Emissaries try to encourage the young Lunar by explaining the wild hunts, the realm's greed and cruelty, as well as the Pact's power and its elders' wisdom. It's discouraged to manipulate young Lunars into joining, but emissaries often portray the Pact as having a lot to offer and asking little in return. The Silver Pact functions as a venue for Lunars to petition each other for assistance in times of need. There are no rules for how these petitions should be made, and each Lunar is free to request what they want or answer a request how they want. They may do these favors freely, at compensation, or by collecting debts. Those who perform perilous favors for the Lunars earn prestige within the Pact. Some Lunars may be influential and powerful enough for many to want to request their aid. It's common for these to ask for compensation before even considering a favor. At the same time, foolish or unreasonable requests can be seen as insult to their station. No one is forced to provide favors for others, but Lunars who refuse favors or ask for unreasonable compensations can have difficulties petitioning others for aid in the future. The rule for mutual aid may be unwritten, but it's still expected. Though the Silver Pact has no official government, the members cover a large variety of social and political stances, including their approach to the realm. The elders of the pact are called Shahanya, which is old realm for guide, and it's their role to mentor the younger generations. Few train more than 1 or 2 students at a time, and many Shahanya find their own tutelage under other elders. These aren't formal authorities within the pact, but some Shahanya who have mentored several generations of Lunars can become informal authorities of different ideological blocks within the pact structure. Whenever the Silver Pact needs to make official decisions, several Shahanya gather in a council or send students they trust as proxies. If there is an active crisis or war, councils such as these may serve as an official governing body for the duration. While some Lunars attend these councils alone, others may bring entire retinues. How a council looks is determined upon which Shahanya is hosting it and who is attending. Because Lunars are exalted and mostly independent, it's not uncommon for internal strife to surface. To avoid this, the Silver Pact has established some ground rules. For example, hospitality is encouraged, and it's considered polite to visit a Lunar whose territory you're passing through. Refusing offers of hospitality is disrespectful. It's unavoidable that some Lunars will hate each other, but members are discouraged from enacting violence or other hostilities against others within the pact. This only harms the pact as a whole, and grievances should therefore be brought before the pact's elders. One of the reasons to host a Shahanya Council is to resolve a major grievance between Lunars. This is often resolved such as that the Lunar who is in the wrong must make redress, or the contesting Lunars must resolve their conflict through competition, such as duels of shape-shifting prowess, recitations of lore, sparring bouts, or something like that. If a Lunar rejects the will of their Shahanya, they may be shunned by other members of the pact. It's possible but uncommon that an especially problematic Lunar is banished from the pact. They are then considered an outlaw and will no longer gain the pact's protection, whether it's by the wild hunt or by another Lunar who may want to harm them. Some Lunars refuse the Silver Pact's invitations and are free to walk alone. A Silver Pact member is expected to avoid harming independent Lunars and instead welcome them should they change their mind. An independent Lunar cannot enjoy all of the benefits of the Silver Pact, but they can coexist peacefully and even cooperate at times. Some independent Lunars may find their way to the Fang Vanguard instead. This is a more unified but authoritarian enclave of Lunars led by the Shogunate-era warlord Taian Silvercrowned and the First Age Elder Feather-Drenched in the Blood of the Fallen. They believe that Lunars need to rally under a firm central authority to defeat the realm. While the Silver Pact and the Fang Vanguard both bear hatred towards the realm, they clash on which methods to use and how to use them. The Silver Pact is warmer to the Fang Vanguard than the Vanguard is to them, but both factions cooperate in times of need. A Shahanya doesn't have to be ancient, and few ancient elders are still alive today. They have to be someone worth following though, who has wisdom to offer and experience under their belt. A true Elder Lunar is a person out of time. Their places of birth are societies since long gone, and they wander the changing world with things they once held dear being remembered only by them. The Silver Pact divides their members into 4 broad age cohorts, which have their own stereotypes and generalizations. The 4th generation are the Children of Sorrows. These are the majority of living Lunars, and most of them were born within the last century. They are active and diverse, and because of their youth they feel a connection to the world of mortals. Many have homes to return to and relationships with mortals they knew from before they exalted. If they are involved in the war against the realm, it's often because of personal reasons unrelated to the Silver Pact's ancient vendettas. The 3rd generation are the survivors of the contagion. When the Great Contagion spread across the world many centuries ago, many Lunars died as they fought to drive back the fair folk. Those who survived share the trauma of this time, and they've lived to see the rise of the realm since. Some of them embrace fatalism or nihilism, while others are living in the moment. While not as numerous as the 4th generation, they are a notable portion of the Silver Pact, and many Lunars from this generation have found kinship with their generational peers over shared traumas and memories. the second generation of the warriors against the shogunate. These Lunars were born and raised in a tumultuous shogunate where they became children of war and survivors of Shikari armies equipped with first-age weaponry. Having seen far more and far deadlier wars than the newer generations, these Lunars direct the Silver Pact strategies against the realm even today. The first generation of the Elders of the First Age, only a handful live today, and they are seen by younger Pact members as legendary figures. And while these are old and wise, they aren't effectively ruling the Silver Pact. These elders are accustomed to taking the long view, and many retire to different domains where they follow long-term agendas incomprehensible to the impatient younglings within today's Silver Pact. Many of these elders are focusing on matters beyond the mortal world, such as the efforts of the Sidereal's Bronze faction. While some are aware of current events, others don't care. The Silver Pact fought against the shogunate and are now fighting against the realm, but their wrath also extends to Luxai, Prasad, and other descendants of the shogunate. Only the most extreme Lunars consider all dragon-blooded their enemies. Terrestrials who don't claim descent from the shogunate are often spared, but a long history of conflict and hatred make it difficult for even them to be fully trusted. The elder Lunars are also well aware of the Sidereal's part in the usurpation, and with neither side trusting the other, Lunars and Sidereals have failed several times to broker peace since. Many times these attempts have resulted in increased animosity. The true animosity is against the Bronze faction though, and the Silver Pact knows that not every Sidereal is complicit in their agenda. Younger Lunars who aren't as familiar with heavenly politics can have a hard time distinguishing one Sidereal from another, and it's not unheard of that a Sidereal with good intentions have been mercilessly slain by a Lunar unwilling to listen to them. Because of the realm's subjugation of the Threshold, Lunars often have no trouble finding local support against the dragon-blooded oppressors. Individual Lunars can terrorize the realm for years while eluding retaliation, wearing them down before going in for the kill. By striking at the realm to wound and not to kill, the Lunars remain a constant threat, and countless stories of lunar activities spread around the realm and become part of their folklore. It's common for Lunars to deal with gods and elementals to intervene against the realm on their behalf. Some Lunars create long-standing relationships with individual spirit courts, while others drive them into submission. The truth is that because the Silver Pact isn't a united force, they cannot overextend against the realm. The Scarlet Empress understood this. By being conservative in the realm's expansion, they could maintain stability in the face of lunar aggressions. She knew that by challenging Luxai or Prasad, or by actively mobilizing forces further east and west, the realm would be weaker before it got strong, leaving opportunities for the Silver Pact to cripple them. However, with the Scarlet Empress gone, and with Solars returning to creation, there is uncertainty and chaos. With the houses competing for control, the realm's stability is weakened, and some Shahanya think it ample opportunity to stop with the centuries of withering attacks for the final decisive blow. While terrorizing the realm has proven an effective strategy, it doesn't mean that it's the only one they have. Many Lunars focus defensively as well, securing their own dominions and fortifying their own strongholds. Few things are as effective at countering the realm's expansion as a strong dominion ready and willing to defend its borders. It's not unheard of that Lunars infiltrate other societies to help secure them against the realm, even if the Lunars themselves aren't actively ruling those societies. Some Lunars challenge the realm more openly as well, raising armies and leading them in open warfare against them. Few can stand against the realm's legions though, and a Lunar often engages in a war of attrition before challenging those legions in the field. It is a difficult and costly thing to assemble forces capable of taking on the realm's legions though, which is why many Lunars are hesitant to engage in this type of warfare. However, with the Scarlet Empress gone, the legions cannot be wielded as effectively as before. Some believe that there has never been a better time to increase the offensives against the realm, and the question then is what comes next. Because the Silver Pact is a collaboration rather than a unified force, there are as many motivations and ambitions within them as there are Lunars there to fight for them. It's not unlikely that once the realm has fallen to the Silver Pact, many Lunars will turn their fangs and claws against each other, at least until they can find a more common ground. The returning Solars are another complication. Lunars who are bonded to them are often drawn to them, and they can prove effective allies against the realm, but young Solars can be both naive and ambitious, and the Lunars wouldn't want to pave the way forward only for Solars to seize the throne. The Abyssals are another complication, since the bonded Lunars are drawn to them in the same way they are drawn to the Solars. They can be powerful allies against the realm, and while some Lunars may see their association with death as a potential new danger for creation, other Lunars may be drawn to that same association. How a Lunar views death and the underworld is personal, and those who feel strongly for the mortals in their domain may strive to protect their ancestral ghosts as well. Lunars were also creation's most capable necromancers before the coming of the Abyssal Exalted, and they are responsible for many necromantic workings around creation and in the underworld. Because of this, it wouldn't be strange for some Lunar necromancers to feel a stronger kinship to the Abyssals than they would to the Solars. As for other enemies, there is the Fairfolk. The Silver Pact has kept their eyes on the realm within creation's center, but they have also kept a watchful eye on the chaotic borders. Some Lunars have infiltrated the Fairy Courts themselves, and others have used the Fairfolk against their own enemies or bargained with them for gossamer goods. When it comes down to it, the Lunars are as varied as they are members of their host, and they can be protagonists and antagonists in any story. The Silver Pact is as close as they come to a unified force with a shared objective, but each member's individuality causes conflict even there. The Lunar Exalted are arguably one of the most important players in the Age of Sorrows, and the decisions they make now, and who or what they decide to become, will change the course of creation, just like creation changes them. Until next time.